Hello, Nicola here from My Kind of Future, here to talk to you about week 4 of your City and Guilds Team Challenge. Hopefully by now you guys are really on track with your TV production show idea. Got something really strong to pitch to the BBC for that grand final. I'm really looking forward to hearing from your fellow colleagues, teamwork as well. If you have nerves about the presentation element, please bear with us and tune in next week to the next instalment. I'm going to be giving you some really helpful tips on how to put that together. But for now, we're going to be concentrating on your final week of content guidance. So this is the final amount of actual work that you need, actual content work that you need to put into your either digital file or your folder that you're producing as a team. Week 4 is called Crossing the Line. So we'll skip through the recaps. What should you have ticked off from last week's session? Well, you were looking at equality and diversity. So you should now have a developed TV show concept. This you've probably been thinking about actually since week 1. Hopefully that's all coming together. We should have documented evidence of what you want to do, as well as working towards the video recording, pitching your concept. Your show should have a name, and you should have catered for a wide and varied audience. You should also have a social media campaign as well. So by that we mean if every member of your team took responsibility for one area of social media, Facebook account, Twitter account and Instagram account, then actually that forms a social media campaign, and you're able to talk us through the different ways that you're making an impact online. Okay, so this week was outcomes of your show and positive impact. This might be something that you thought, oh, we've thought about this already, but when you get under the skin of it, there's still quite a lot that goes into forming a real cohesive idea on this as well. So your team discussion was about a show that you've watched that has impacted you. Now please be honest, I know you've kind of got the BBC in mind, but if the show that you watched and really loved was Channel 4, bring it up. We want to hear about what it was about each show that impacts you. However, if your favourite show and the biggest impact was Bad Education, then great. Think about why the BBC have perhaps commissioned that show, who they're trying to reach with it. And it's very topical at the moment because that obviously runs through BBC 3, which is going through some changes, which be really good for you to be aware of as well as you go into this final couple of weeks of your project. However, be honest, what impacted you? Was it a positive impact? Was it negative? So you've had these discussions in your group, but maybe you actually want to make a note of some of these in follow-up to that as well, so you can reference them. And remember, obviously, the people who are assessing you have not been present in all of these discussions, so it'd be really great if you've got a way of relaying to us what your highlights were from those discussions each week. Okay. Thinking about the London 2012 legacy, be really interested to see what you thought about with this. There's a picture here of the aquatic centre. Now, I assumed that to be able to go swimming in the aquatic centre where the Olympics took place would be super expensive, but actually part of the legacy is making it one of the most affordable places to swim individually or as a family in London, actually. So things like that have been very specifically chosen, and those decisions have been made for good reasons. Then thinking about Rio, so actually the budget for an Olympic Games is very big. Maybe it surprised you to find out how much Rio will be spending. Actually, maybe you looked into how much we spent as a Games as well. But this is all to support why there's a need for your TV show to happen. It's a missed opportunity, isn't it? If all this money is being plugged into an event, it makes sense that the BBC would tap into it with this youth production idea. So you should have some research to add to your folder off the back of this as well. And when we moved on to think about sustainability, so sustainability has been topical for a number of years, but is really at the forefront again now for companies, for individuals who are trying to put an idea forward, with perhaps a local company through to huge businesses as well, and any initiatives that start. The idea of being sustainable is, as it says, any product, service or initiative that can be created and maintained without damaging the environment, and it's about maintaining a healthy way of life without harming the environment. So that may be something you've thought about in the production of your TV show company. It might be something that didn't cross your mind at all. But think about this. How is Rio committing to its Olympic legacy? How is it working to be sustainable, and how can they use the Olympics to boost their economy long after the Games? Now, you might have thought about one or two of these in the session this week. If you haven't answered all of these, then maybe one of your team members take responsibility for working on this at home and adding to the bits you've already done as well. And then we think about actually making your own show. You will now have a really good idea of not only the genre but what goes into that show. How long do you think it's going to take to film? Is the making of your show going to harm animals, people or the environment? If so, how can you avoid or counteract these risks? This is about really looking at every area that you've got loads and loads of ideas around your TV show, but don't overlook it, so that actually if you got challenged or asked a question about how you're actually going to do something, how you're actually going to make that happen, where are you actually going to film that, is that going to disrupt something or damage something in the process? So we wanted you to think about the positive action your production company can take during filming to affect the environment. So that means choosing whether you maybe think about how you're going to travel to and from filming. Is there a way, maybe there's an incentive for all of your actors to cycle to the studio rather than being picked up in a hire car, one each, whatever it might be. Maybe about the makeup, you make a blanket statement that all of the makeup used on your show is going to make sure you're going to ensure it's not been tested on animals. There are different things you can do, and when you think about actually everything that goes into your own show, again, you'll find things that are relevant to your group as opposed to other groups as well. So keep all of those things in mind and keep a note of them, please. How are we going to make your show, firstly, a success? And this is the thing about how do you actually measure what is successful? How will you know that people have enjoyed it? Sometimes it's a case of when you go to college the next day after watching something, you talk about something you've watched and you get a sense for yourself that people have liked it or not liked it. That's great, but it doesn't help the TV production company. How do they receive that message? How do they really understand what people have thought of it? So it might be to do with Google searches. It might be that actually the number of people the next day that went to watch it on iPlayer or catch up because they've heard loads of people talking about it and missed it. Is it the ratings, simply how many people got the message in your build-up advertising the show that they needed to watch that? Or maybe it's your social media campaign actually has made it really easy for you to track and measure how successful that show was. How are you going to make it then inspiring? What sorts of careers might this show inspire in your viewers? So you might not have thought about this, but actually things that we watch on the TV are sometimes very specifically geared towards encouraging people in certain industries. Just like when there was a big low in people being able to sell their houses, suddenly there was a huge uprising of shows that tell you how to how to make money on your house by or how to better sell it by giving it a lick of paint, or you get people in who can tweak your furniture and suddenly your house sells for loads more money, or whatever it might be. But there's probably a focus, and quite often TV companies like the BBC will say, we really need a show that ticks this box and this box, and then people come to them with their ideas. So at the moment they're wanting something that hits the youth market. But have you thought about what jobs that might inspire in them? What does your show tell people about? Is it going to educate them on language, on travel, on culture? Is it going to educate them on You know, maybe if it were a sitcom, for example, maybe your lead character has a job that no one's ever heard of before, but actually just very subtly we get to understand this job role. That will encourage people to get on board with that as well. So just a nice little touch there to throw in. And how are you going to make your show go further? So how can your show help the sustainability of the Olympics in the UK? So what we mean by that is how are you going to make an impact on the Olympics and Paralympics that lasts more than just a few weeks? So maybe your show very specifically will help to encourage people to continue enjoying what the Olympics has started. So maybe it's your social media footprint. Maybe your social media will continue long after your 6 episodes have aired. Maybe you're going to have campaigns and events, or maybe blogs that can continue. There are ways that you can make your show sustainable without ploughing lots and lots of money into doing that. Obviously there are so many online resources that are free, so perhaps that's a great place to start, but you'll have other ideas as well of that. So again, we need a note of this in your team pack. And what next for your company? So to make your pitch really professional, we want to see such confidence in your idea that you've even thought ahead to where you see yourselves in the future. So this is about putting a proposal together. Now this is not a very long thing, but it's just about saying, okay, so Rio 2016, our show was a great success, but what could we do in 2017? Maybe if the BBC said, you know, it's gone so well, we want something to follow up next year because it's been such a success. Maybe you say, great, well, we had series 1 of our sitcom, we've got this great idea for series 2. Or maybe, you know, well, our cooking program really focused on Brazilian cuisine, we're going to take it to another city of the world for 2017, whatever it is. And then the second half of this is looking at 2020. So the Tokyo Olympics will be coming round actually before you know it. These 4 years do go really quickly, and if you're commissioning a show for 2020, it won't be long before you're starting to plan and get into your pre-production for that. So if you like a show comeback, where people will say, this is the same company that put that amazing show together for Rio, great, I'm definitely going to tune in, I'm definitely going to watch that. So again, maybe just a paragraph for each of those. Maybe you want to add some images to that as well. Maybe, you know, we want you to be as creative as possible with how you relay this information to us. The most important thing at this stage is to keep record of everything, and then next week we'll be looking at how you package all of this up. So more than ever, it's really important that all of these notes get recorded. It's your last week really to bring something to the table. So if you know, you can put your hands up and say, actually, I haven't really been pulling my weight as much as some other team members, then maybe really go out of your way this week to bring something to the table for next week. This is your last chance really to pull together the content to show that you have been able to research things that are relevant for your show and for your ideas. Okay, I really hope you're enjoying it. Really looking forward to seeing all of your entries. Next week we're going to be looking at putting this together for a pitch, but it's a fantastic quote here from Henry Ford of Ford Cars. He says, if everyone is moving forward together, then success takes care of itself. So there's a challenge for you. Are you moving forward? Are you contributing in a way that leads your team forward? Because whether or not your final pitch will be a success is dependent on what you put in. It is not too late to really pull out all the stops now. So I really encourage you to do that. Make sure you're communicating with your team. If there have been any disagreements along the way or things that you haven't been able to make decisions on, now's the time to come together, maybe take votes. If you're unsure, get your college tutor on board to help you iron out anything that's maybe been tricky. But I think we're headed towards a fantastic week next week. So all the best, and we'll see you next week.